She tapped a screen and opened a casino app. Somewhere between one spin and the next, she won over $3 million. The numbers held steady. The balance climbed like it had somewhere to be. The software didn't argue. For a few minutes, the house kept paying her. Then it didn't. The casino called it a glitch. And what started as a lucky evening in sweatpants, just a woman and a phone, ended up climbing the courthouse steps all the way to the Michigan Supreme Court. Now let's clear something up before anybody gets ahead of themselves. The court didn't mail her a check. No armored truck backed into her driveway. What they did was quieter than that. They unlocked a door the lower courts had closed, and all of it began in the most ordinary way imaginable. Southfield, Michigan. The BetMGM app. No velvet rope, no cigarette smoke clinging to your jacket, no chandeliers, no cocktail servers drifting past with watered-down bourbon. Just a login screen tucked between grocery lists and weather alerts, glowing like it meant business. Her name was Jacqueline Davis. Not some card-counting savant in a trench coat, just a regular player. The sort who might log in after dinner while the television murmurs in the background and the dishwasher hums along like it always does. The game was called Luck-O the Roulette, an online roulette table with digital felt and spinning numbers. If you've never played roulette, it's about as complicated as a coin toss, just dressed up in better lighting. Picture a wheel, 38 pockets on the American version. You pick a number or a color. The ball spins. You wait. Waiting is the part they don't put in the commercials. That night in 2021, Jacqueline placed what's known as a straight bet. One number, 35-1 odds. It's the kind of bet that feels heroic when it hits and foolish when it doesn't. She kept placing it, and then something strange began to happen. The same number kept hitting, again and again and again. Now, roulette players are used to patterns teasing them. Humans see streaks in clouds and miracles in coincidences, but this was different. The screen kept awarding her wins, substantial wins, the kind that make you sit up straighter. By the time it was over, her account showed more than $3 million. $3 million. The screen didn't stutter. According to court filings, it hovered around $3.3 million. For a stretch of time, that number belonged to her. Clean, digital, undeniable. You can picture it, that stunned quiet, the little recalculation happening behind the eyes. Maybe a phone call that starts with, "You're not going to believe this." But casinos, even the ones that live in your pocket, don't spook easily. They audit. They review. They have language in their terms and conditions that stretches longer than a Mississippi summer. Before she could withdraw it, the account froze. The company called it a malfunction. A game error, they said. Software behaving in ways it wasn't supposed to. Payouts that, in their view, could not have occurred under normal operation. They voided the winnings. Instead of $3 million, Jacqueline was left with her initial deposit returned, like none of it had ever happened. Casinos have a remarkable talent for remembering losses and forgetting wins. Now, gambling houses have long relied on a simple phrase printed somewhere in the rules. Malfunction voids all pays and plays. It's a tidy sentence, efficient, like a trap door. You'll find versions of it on slot machines in Las Vegas and Atlantic City. It's the casino's insurance policy against faulty wiring or misbehaving code. The idea is straightforward. If the machine breaks, the payout doesn't count. Short, neat, final. It works fine when a wire burns out or a screen goes dark. It feels different when $3 million has already been displayed. I've seen grown men argue with a penny slot over a missing cent. I'd probably be one of them. So you can imagine how this one landed. Jacqueline didn't shrug it off. She filed suit. The case moved through the Michigan courts until it reached docket number 166281 at the state's highest bench. At its heart was a question simple enough to fit on a cocktail napkin. If the machine says you've won, and you didn't cheat it, didn't tamper with it, didn't so much as breathe on it sideways, who carries the cost if the machine itself was wrong? BetMGM leaned on its terms of service. The malfunction clause, they argued, gave them the authority to void the payout. In their telling, the software produced outcomes that were mathematically impossible. Jacqueline's position was plainer. She played the game as it was presented. The system accepted her bets. It displayed the balance. No hacking, no funny business, just a player pressing a button. And if a company builds a machine and invites the public to use it, isn't it their responsibility to ensure it works? The Michigan Supreme Court's opinion didn't read like a thriller. Court opinions rarely do, but between the lines, you could feel the weight of the digital age pressing against old legal principles. The justices examined whether Michigan's online gaming law shut the courthouse doors entirely. They considered whether regulatory remedies through the Michigan Gaming Control Board were the exclusive path forward. But in July 2025, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled unanimously that the state's online gambling law doesn't prevent players from suing a casino in court. The justices said Jacqueline didn't have to rely only on the Gaming Control Board. She had the right to take her case before a judge. That's it. The casino couldn't use the statute as a shield to end the case before it began. They didn't declare her a winner. They didn't award the money. They allowed the argument to continue, which in legal terms is about as exciting as fireworks. There's a certain grit involved in suing a casino. They've got lawyers like oak trees, deep roots, shade for days, but sometimes a single player decides the shade is too heavy. What lingers about this story isn't just the number, though $3 million has a way of sticking to your ribs. For me, it's that quiet dependency we've all gotten comfortable with. We tap a screen and assume it means what it says. You can't hear the wheel clatter. You can't see the ball bounce. You're trusting code written by someone you'll never meet. When a physical wheel malfunctions, someone gathers around. There's a conversation. A supervisor steps in. Online, the correction arrives by email. No eye contact, no shrug, just a notification and a paragraph you didn't write. BetMGM, for its part, insisted the outcome was clearly the result of a software error. And as you'd expect, the Michigan Gaming Control Board sided with the operator's determination of malfunction. Regulators think in terms of system integrity. If the math breaks, you fix the math. Courts think differently. They don't care much for percentages. They care about promises. I've spent enough time around casinos, real ones with carpet patterns loud enough to give you a headache, to know they rely on certainty. The house edge, the odds, the understanding that over time they enjoy the steady favor of arithmetic. What rattles that confidence won't be a lucky player. They've seen plenty of those. It's ambiguity. A payout that lives in the gray space between possible and impossible. Some folks read this story and shake their heads. Of course it was a glitch, they say. Others stare at the balance that once existed and wonder how something displayed so plainly can simply evaporate. Both instincts make sense. But imagine being Jacqueline Davis watching the numbers climb, seeing $10 turn into $500,000, then $1 million, then more, not because you broke the system, but because the system kept saying yes. There's a shift that happens when a screen tells you you're rich. It feels stamped, filed, accounted for. Then it vanishes. Money that never touches your hand still leaves fingerprints in your mind. You don't forget seeing it. Doesn't matter if it was there for 5 minutes or 5 hours. Once you've watched that number climb, it sets up camp in your memory. The case continues in lower court. No payout, no confetti, just legal briefs, long pauses, and lawyers billing by the hour. Which means nothing has been settled yet. The argument just moved to a bigger room. Because you see, casinos love certainty. Love the comfort of math behaving itself. The steady hum of percentages doing what percentages have always done. They're less comfortable when the uncertainty shows up on their side of the counter. This whole affair lives in that narrow space between code and trust. On a casino floor, there's usually a man in a suit you can look in the eye, a manager who can lean in, scratch his chin, make a call, maybe comp a steak dinner if things get awkward. Online, it's different. A notification, a clause buried in a paragraph. Malfunction voids all pays. Clean, efficient, final. Except it wasn't final. Somewhere in Southfield, a woman tapped a screen and watched the house keep paying her. The numbers stacked up politely and orderly, like they'd been doing it their whole lives. Then the music stopped. Now a judge, maybe a jury, will decide whether that digital fortune was binding or a ghost in the circuitry. $3 million is a powerful thing to glimpse. So is a glitch. And somewhere between what the machine displayed and what the casino declared, the law is still deciding what counts as a win and who gets to say so. There are other legends of the felt worth remembering. If you'd like to stay at the table a little longer, you'll find a few of them right here. So pull up a chair. Stay a while.